Welcome to Uncorked and Uncut, Email Marketing Friends at Home, a vodcast with a new guest each episode, and your hosts, Kath Pay and Ryan Phelan.
Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Uncorked and Uncut. And today we have the absolute joy of having Janet Roberts with us. And Janet is an incredibly close friend of both Ryan and mine. In fact, I'd like to refer to Janet as being one of my besties. And for today's sort of, we kind of like to have different themes and everything for our episodes. So today's episode is we're kind of going to be trying to show a little bit about ourselves through our Zoom backgrounds, because I'm not sure that, most of you wouldn't know this, but if you've ever been on a Zoom call with Janet, you'll realize that she is the queen of Zoom backgrounds. So that's our theme for today. There we go. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here. And because I know that this particular background gets annoying really fast, I'm going to take you instead to my virtual living room.
Nice.
Which
That's the one I'm very familiar with.
For the longest time, I thought that was your living room.
Well,
like,
it kind of is, because if you were to stand in my living room, kind of where I am now, you would see these two windows in the back, and behind my head, which, does not have anything, there is a chimney or a fireplace, but the sofa's against one wall. I've got a big picture window on the other wall. So this is where I tend to hang out during my Zoom calls. And one of these days I will have a living room that does look like my Zoom background.
Things to aspire to.
Exactly.
And see, having gone through the experience of having to design a house and toss out ideas, you could just give the designer this photo and go, design a house around this.
Well, that's pretty much how it's going to end up, I think, with wherever we move to next after here. So welcome to my living room.
Well, I'm happy to be there. Now, people at home may be wondering, who in the hell is Janet Roberts?
I have often wondered that myself.
I know. So let me try to
sure.
I know. Let me try to describe Janet Roberts in one sentence.
Okay, going to silent.
Okay. She is the most prolific writer in the email space with the most columns out there ever.
That you've never heard of.
That no one's ever heard of.
That you've never heard of. If
true.
there is a secret force in the email industry, we are interviewing her right now.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Janet, why don't you explain how you are the person with the most articles in this space?
Because I ghostwrite for every smart person out there. That's pretty much how it is.
And the dumb ones.
No.
Yeah.
I work with great people, and I am lucky that I don't have to take every job that comes my way anymore. I kind of did in the beginning. But I'm really lucky that I work with people who are on top of things. They're smart. They are interested. They're innovative. They're always looking for better ways of doing things. They're not the hacks of the industry, and there are a lot of hacks out there. But let me start up how I got started in this business. I was working for a company here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is where I live. And there was an email company called, I worked for the content arm called List Universe, but it was an email service called SparkList, which was actually one of the first commodity email list hosting services. And it was a joint venture between the local investors. And if you remember Lyris, Lyris software, we ran kind of like beta versions of Lyris list hosting software. And I got started in the business because they needed somebody to come in and write content for all of their users. for all the Sparklist users who were then, you know, just learning the power of email, of marketing through email. And they kind of needed to be told, this is how you write for email, this is how you're not a spammer, that sort of thing. And I'd had some experience in email because I was doing some list hosting, and I had a very small email newsletter of food content because I was a food writer at the time. But my husband was actually the email pioneer in our family because he started a little thing called Notes from Camp, or Daily Report from Camp, or something like that. It was in the summer when, you know, I'm in Green Bay, Wisconsin. This is home of the Packers, Green Bay Packers, and they would have their summer training programs here in town, and it's a huge tourist draw. If any of you ever come up to visit me in the summer, we will probably, you know, when we go back to the NFL as usual, I'll take you out to camp, and you can watch the Packers train, which is one of the different things about the Packers. And at the time, my husband and I were both on America Online, and it was, you know, it got expensive really fast to be on America Online.
Wow.
So he would do, instead of having all these Packer fans from around the world have to check in every day on America Online, he would put together a little newsletter every day. This is what happened at camp. He was able to do this because he was working for our local paper in the sports department. So he could keep track of what the reporters were doing. Excuse me. And he started this little newsletter, and it grew to about 5,000 readers from all over the world, because there are Packer fans all over the world.
What year was this?
This was in 1992 or 93.
Okay.
So, you know, we're way, way, way back.
Wow.
And I would help him with it. I would help him distribute and everything. And it was a monumental pain. And when this opportunity came up in 2001 to go work at Sparklist, I immediately understood everything that they're talking about, because, you know, our lives were basically email, you know, I mean, communications.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I fell into email. Then I started working at Sparklist in the content arm. And I started producing content for people from the company that weren't really great writers. I would write it under their names. And then, of course, then the bubble burst. And we were able to keep the company going for a number of years, mainly because they were really conservative in their spending. But the day came when I logged into my computer. I was working at home by then. And I found the infamous message, okay, you're done. We'll be over in about 15 minutes to pick up your computer. So I sent out a quickly scribbled note to the people that I had gotten to know in the industry saying, you know, this chapter is closing, would love to stay in touch. And about maybe 20 minutes later, I got an email from Lauren McDonald, who is, you know, one of the titans of the industry, saying, does this mean you're available? He told him that he needed to write for ClickZ. He didn't have time to do it. If he sent me some material, could I write it for him? You know, I was not going to say no. And that was how my content career began. I started working with Lauren, and then he would refer me to a couple of other people in his company then when he was at Email Labs. And it went from there. There's always somebody who needs to have something written for a thought leadership piece or for in-house communication, employee communications, blog posts, email newsletters, whatever. And I just kind of fell into my career. So that's a very long way of saying this is how I got started. But I did do what it says here. I did kind of follow my heart that I wanted to write. I had had a freelance writing career for a long time. I was kind of done with that. And email to me just seemed like such a natural fit because I was trained in newspaper writing where you really have to be very clear and direct. And that's what a lot of people needed for their thought leadership posts. They didn't need somebody who would write like they're doing a technical manual. They needed to have someone who knew how to write so people would understand. And that has been my unique selling proposition since 2004.
That's amazing. Seriously, 2004.
Yeah. It's been a while.
I think I started, didn't we start working together in like 2005 with Easy Mail?
Maybe, you know, honestly, I was trying to remember. how long it's been that we've all known each other. I can't remember a time in my career when I did not know you guys. And honestly, I mean, maybe it's because I'm getting old, but it's you two have always been there, which has been so exciting for me because I think you guys are two of the smartest people. And I wouldn't be working for you if I didn't think you were. As I said, I've been lucky that I've been able to kind of pick and choose. And the people that I want to work with are the ones that I've been able to continue working with. So.
Wow.
Well, I got to say, I have used Janet, and we have a very different, I think it's not really ghostwriting. It's editing.
Yeah.
Right. And dictation. You're like typing furiously as I say the article in my head, because you
can hear me clicking. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in how I write is that if I try to type it, my brain goes faster than my fingers do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which
and
is
I
how it
lose
is for most people.
Yeah, and I lose myself, but I can get on the phone with Janet.
Yeah.
And I can put together an article in my head and say exactly how I want it to be. And she goes through and types it up and cleans it up and then sends it to me. And when I read it, it's like, yep, that's exactly what I said. She just made it really pretty. But beyond that, I have used Janet in 5 companies.
Really?
Going back to Blue Hornet.
Yeah, that's where we started. Oh my gosh, Blue Hornet.
Was Blue Hornet. So she not only helped write for me, but she has worked with me on reports, on studies, on website copy. She has won awards for my clients with her writing. Won a Stevie Award for one of my clients. Mm-hmm. Won actually 2 others for a past company. Her writing is all over my career in such a profound way that has helped advance me in the industry, but my clients, I know my clients as well. I mean, Janet is the person that when somebody asks for a writer, you go Janet Roberts, and people are like, oh yes, it's there's not a doubt, right?
Yeah, no, it's the same with me and Janet too. Kind of like I try and distill in a very, very bad way all the thoughts, everything I want. And Janet's going and she's clarifying and she's going, okay, right. So putting it together. And then it was really funny. One day I'm trying to find the original. So I've got this white paper that was written. And I sent it over to Janet and I said, Janet, I can't find the original. Do you have it? She goes, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, I'll keep looking and you keep looking. And the funny thing is that neither one of us knew who actually was the person who wrote it. Turns out it was me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Janet had nothing to do with that particular one. She and I couldn't tell who had written it. Because when she writes just like she's me.
Yeah.
She takes up everything. It's just like she's gone and taken my writing style and she's turned that into, when I'm writing for Kath, this is how I write. It's totally phenomenal, which is why when they read your blogs or your articles, Ryan, you're not going to know that it was Janet writing it. And then, the same, in the same blog or the same brand, there's mine, totally different. Amazing.
And you and I have done contributions for people where they ask for comments and stuff, and it's hilarious because you're looking at it, and if it's Lauren, you and I, it's like, well, where did it all come from?
I know, that's where I start feeling like Sybil a little bit, with the multiple personalities. But I mean, that's what a good content writer does. So if somebody who's watching this wants to and they've never worked with a third-party person, it's a little scary. It's the whole concept of especially if you're the startup person, the owner, and you have a specific voice and feel that you want your content to sound like, it can be really scary to hand that over to somebody, to some third party, because part of it is that people, they hate to criticize. It's like, this is not quite right. And I said, no, it's your content, it's your copy. It has to sound right for you. And you have to work with somebody who does know how to basically slide into your skin and think like you do and talk like you do. That's just what a good content writer does. That's kind of getting the brand voice down. And it takes a while. You know, there are some people that are really distinctive. I have no other clients for whom I can talk about staying ahead of the zombies like I can with Ryan. You know,
okay, so that's the other thing too. Like, Janet knows my themes, my topics, my particular angles and concepts and philosophies. She knows them inside and out as well as I do, as she does yours, Ryan. And she doesn't bring yours over to my copy. My copy is just my concepts and my philosophies, and yours are just yours. And that is totally amazing, because I know there are so many marketers who'll just read, or even thought leaders, they'll read one of your blogs or one of my blogs, and I say, that's a great concept. And then they take it as being theirs without,
right.
Whereas Janet has kept them very much, you know.
Yeah, very segregated.
Yeah, it's truly amazing.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's what a good content writer does. You know, someone who works for multiple clients. It helps that I'm not going outside of the industry. It's really just finding the individual voice within you know, that particular area. But you know, it's a challenge, but again, I work for really great people, so it's not like I have to start sounding like a crazy person.
Oh, Ryan, go back to that one. That was amazing. I want that one.
I'm trying to look at my camera and look at your thing outside.
Look at that. Look how close the beach is. I want.
You know,
I want to be there.
Couldn't we kind of see ourselves here?
And I really liked your kitchen too, then, Janet.
Yeah, your kitchen was as impressive as your living room.
Did you like my fabulous kitchen? Yeah, you could you could pretty much put my whole house inside this kitchen, and this is what my kitchen will look like someday. You know, when after we win the lottery, and you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my background is this is actually Antigua, which is one of my passions. So like
I love that. At
sunset. One there. So.
One of these days we're going to be on that beach together, Kath, I'm telling you.
Well, yes, but we have to leave the US first.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, for you guys, absolutely.
I know. Which is a great segue into my next question, which is, not that one. Damn it. Wrong one. Hold on. I really had a good one. There it is.
Thank you.
All right, so you write for all these different people, right? And so you know, just like Kath said, you know everybody's themes, you know everybody's kind of voice. With COVID and all the different writings, you and I have done quite a few on the topic. How have you seen the shift between just talking about email and integrating COVID? Has it been a useful discussion for people to have? Has it been quality? I mean, tell us about that shift that you've seen in your own writing to try and get in touch with what's going on.
It has been a huge wake-up call for a couple of the people that I work with to bring in, I know this is going to start sounding like a buzzword, but to bring in humanity and empathy into the conversation, to think about what effect is this having on our customers. So it's not just pushing the features, but understanding that now, of course, most of the work, probably 90% of the work that I do is B2B. So I'm working with a business, talking to their business customers as opposed to consumers.
Right.
But I have seen more companies have to start thinking and talking like a consumer company, having to take the situation that their customers are in. Because now their customers are not sitting in a cushy office, a cushy air conditioning office where they can shut the door, or even in a cubicle or something. They're at home having to deal with all of the stuff that's going on at home with the distractions, even if you don't have a spouse, kids, dogs barking, whatever. They've had to look more at the context of what they're saying. How does this help people solve problems? And I've seen a much stronger, maybe I should put it like this. I haven't had to work as hard to persuade people, let's talk about the benefits and not the features, as I've had in the past.
Right.
And I know that, you know, we have had to bring in the real world into business discussions in the way that B2B marketers really haven't had to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that consumer marketers have to think about. And, you know, this goes back to a conversation that I had with Lauren many years ago when cart abandonment emails were just becoming the thing. You know, they're just figuring it out. And these consumer marketers were realizing that they had to position a cart abandonment email with the assumption that maybe there's something going on at home that's preventing the customer from finishing the transaction. They don't all just get bored and wander away. It could be that the phone is ringing. It could be, especially if you know, you're like a baby care products manufacturer, your customer may have to get up and go take care of the baby, or somebody just spilled juice on the floor, or there's a fight, or there's something going on.
Yeah.
It's preventing them from finishing that transaction. Now that's the kind of the understanding that consumer marketers had to come to, and now we business marketers too are having to think about that.
Yes.
So
Brilliant. Yeah. I just literally got off a call with a client, and they're B2C, and or one part of this part of their business is, and you know, they were talking about the second purchase program not working well. I went and did a shopping little journey with them, right? So I bought them. And then I found all the problems, and I said, do you know why the second purchase program isn't working properly? It's because this experience isn't good, and we have to, we as email marketers tend to think it's all to do with email. If they unsubscribe, it's because they hate our emails rather than they suffered a bad experience. Why haven't they purchased a second time? It's because we're not giving them the right offers or something like this? No, it's probably because, you know, there's bigger things at play. And so, as you say, when we're talking about COVID, that is bigger. And there are so many myriad of differences in our lives during this. We can't account for all of them. We can't, and so we have to sort of just
well, I think, you know, especially too, now that a lot of these marketers, a lot of the people that I'm working with are also working from home. You know, some of them are back in the office now, but I was just working with someone, you know, I don't want to get all sexist about it, but I was working with a guy who had kind of a very traditional outlook on life, and all of a sudden he's having to work at home. He has young kids at home. His wife works at a job that takes her out of the home. So, and they don't have in-home help. And we were on a call, and all of a sudden I heard this wail from the back of the house, and something had happened with one of his kids. And he's like, what do I said, we'll pick this up later. It's okay. Go take care of your kid, man. And it's this very sudden, you know, change that we have not been able to plan for.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, it was forced on us. We weren't able to go, you know, sit down in committees and come up with an idea and an approach and a voice and all that. This was thrust on us. And it's been interesting to see which marketers have been able to pick up that ball and run with it, you know, and which one struggled for a little bit. And my role actually was, I probably took a little bit stronger role in strategy and message management than I usually do. Usually people have figured out what the message is, and then they come to me with it. And in this case, you know, there were times I would just say, you know, do you think people really care about this? Let's think about where they are. Let's think about where they are in their business, and they've just had their budget cut in half. And, you know, they're not going to care about this upgraded thing. How can they get more out of what they're paying for now, as opposed to, you know, buying another add-on? And I think it's been useful. I hope that we remember these lessons if and when we are able to, you know, go back to somewhere to where we were. So it's been tough, but I think it's been useful for a number of people.
Yeah. So, but as far as you in COVID, you work from home normally. So you've not, you know, aside from not being able to come over to the Caribbean with me, in a
Yes.
couple of weeks' time.
Yes. Having
Yeah,
to
yeah.
put off our England trip yet again.
Yes, yes.
Um,
You've not been overly affected, have you?
no, I've been busier than ever. And
Yeah.
I've been reading all of these, especially like in March and April when people were baking sourdough bread and doing puzzles and going for long walks with the dog. It's like, yeah, it must be nice. I haven't cleaned my house since my kid came to visit 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I just haven't had the time. So I don't want to hear about your stupid sourdough.
I know.
But I mean, it's so for me, no, it's been business as usual
Yeah.
at home. So
Okay. So show your the Monterey Bridge one, or the part. That's the one.
Oh,
yeah,
look at
this is a
that.
souvenir from. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, that way. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, my video is mirrored, and I have no spatial sense anyway. So this is a souvenir of a trip that Kath and I took last October.
Yes.
Last October. It feels like a million years ago.
It does, doesn't it?
as Ryan says, back when we could go out to restaurants and stuff.
Right.
And do you want to tell it or should I, Kath?
You tell it.
Okay. Well, Kath contacted me because now Kath and I have traveled some. We spent a week in Cape Cod once. And let's see. Oh, and there was a couple days that we spent after the EEC conference in Savannah last year.
Celebrating your birthday.
That's right. That was my birthday. Yeah, I was 39 that year. Wow. And so we knew that we were good travelers. And Kath raised it. She asked me like last summer that she was going to be in Colorado for a meeting. And then she had a speaking gig in Carmel, California, 5 days later. She didn't want to fly back and forth between the two gigs, and who can blame her? So did I want to come out to California and, hang out for a few days? And of course I thought about it for 30 seconds and said, oh yeah. So we decided to rent a car and drive up the Pacific Coast Highway from Los Angeles to Carmel. It's about
not just any car.
Well, yeah,
you guys had a fancy one.
Yeah, Kath really, really wanted a Mustang convertible, and I could not get a convertible with the 3 rental car agencies that I usually do, but I found one with this kind of budget rental, and I went, okay, they have a convertible, we'll try it, and it turned out to be great. It was a great, from a customer experience, it was a great rental agency. It was a Mustang convertible, for Pete's sake. And oh man, that baby could go. I had forgotten, after years of driving tin cans, I had forgotten how fabulous it was to get behind a car that had a little bit of get up and go. And that Mustang was just, so much fun. It was so much fun to drive.
Well, you guys travel a lot. One of your trips next year is to come down and see me, which I'm supremely excited about.
We're already planning that. Yeah.
It's we've already claimed our rooms in your new place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I've shown blueprints and it's already, set.
That's Kat's room. That's Janet's room. I've worked out the best way, the access to the pool. And I've already got Ryan planning the meals he's going to be cooking for us too.
And I'm very good at washing up, so I'm perfectly willing to, as long as I don't have to cook, I'm perfectly willing to clean up.
Cool.
And I'll do a bit of gardening for you.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Because I am going to have a garden.
Oh, I
have a
certainly
garden.
expected. Yeah. Are you going to have a kitchen garden?
No, we're on an acre, and the house and everything only takes up half an acre. So I'm going to find a way to have a big, huge garden in the back half of the property.
So nice.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I try to have a garden here, but I don't have a good yard for a garden. Plus I have squirrels and rabbits, and now we have deer and raccoon. So, I have whatever I planted maybe 20 years ago, and that's all starting to get a little frowsy. So I'm just like, the gardening thing is just not going to work for me.
Yeah.
So, but the bridge here in the picture is from, if you ever watched the miniseries Big Little Lies on
Yes.
HBO, which is, I gotta say, I mean, it sounds so trashy, but I love it. It's one of my favorite series. This was one of the big bridges that's on the PCH that it's known for.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of kind of laybys that you can pull off and take pictures. And I think this was also, there was this one, then there was that big Seal Beach that we were at.
Yes. I was thinking of that the other day.
That had hundreds of, it looked like a seal massacre, but they were all just, you know, snoozing in the sun and kind of talking to themselves and rolling over. And it was,
Right.
yeah. And it was a nice drive. If you've ever, you know, I mean, now my husband and I, one of the things we like to do is we just get in the car and we go off and we wander. And we've been doing a lot of wandering during COVID. That's one thing that we've been able to do a lot more of. And so when Kath proposed this driving trip, of course, I was all over it. And we had 2 great days of driving up the PCH. We had beautiful weather. We stayed in little Airbnbs along the way. And then we finally ended up in Pacific Heights and then Carmel, where I got to hang out for a couple of days with all the beautiful people at the conference. So
yeah, great conference.
It was fun. It was a great trip.
You and Jeff though, you kind of like okay, great, we're off to go see Evan wherever Evan ends up being, because Evan's been all over the place because he goes to college here and he did this and he did that, and so you kind of like, for you just to sit there, and you always say, oh, but don't worry, I'll be working.
Yeah, I do.
In the car.
Yeah, this actually is, here I am with the family, and this was taken
The new
when
girlfriend, right?
Well, the one on the left is the girlfriend.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's my son's girlfriend, Grace, who is a lovely person. And then behind me is, there we go, there's my husband, Jeff. He and I met in college about 1,000 years ago. And then there are 2 guys with dark hair and glasses, and only one of them is my son. The other one is my son from another mother, as I'd like to call him, who is one of my son's best friends from college. That's Conrad, and then Evan is the one in the middle, and then one of his college friends is on the right in the Miami sweatshirt. So yeah, when Evan was at Miami University, which is about, it's an 8-hour drive, he was in the men's glee club, which is a famous university glee club. He is a bass baritone. And we were expected to do what we'd done all through high school and college, which was to show up for his performances. So we got very used to driving between Green Bay and Miami in Oxford, Ohio. So it was, I don't miss that, but I kind of miss him, but not too much, because he's actually flying in tonight to go to Conrad's wedding. That's Conrad. And that's,
okay.
Yeah. Conrad is getting married this weekend, and Evan is in the wedding party. So I'm going to see him in about 7 hours.
There you go. I remember quite a few articles that we wrote that were from the front seat or back seat of your car.
Yes, my husband would drive, and I have my laptop, I have my portable Wi-Fi, and I have my my writing desk, and I am all situated. I know exactly where the Wi-Fi drops between Chicago and Indianapolis. So I knew I'd have about 5 hours of good work time. And I did conference calls, I did webinars, I talked to clients, I wrote, put that time to good use.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
That's,
See,
that's,
you have to. I mean,
Jeff
there
is
no big
so
deal.
understanding, but that's because he's also a writer, isn't he?
He is. As I mentioned, he and I met in college. We were both journalism majors. I couldn't stand him. He was so arrogant. He thought I was an fluffhead, but somehow we managed to overcome that and get together. And we both worked in newspapers for a number of years. I left full-time newspaper work when Evan was born, and Jeff stayed at the paper until he took a buyout after 25 years. And he now is a marketing writer for a local health clinic. Which I've told him he can never leave, because we get a fabulous discount on anything that we need from the clinic.
oh, that's great.
Yeah, and my son is also, I gotta say, I mean, this is gonna sound like mom bragging, but he is a PhD student at the University of Maryland, specializing in American history of the 1940s and 50s, social and cultural history and focusing on comic books. So this is the kid who is figuring out how to make a living from comic books. That he focuses on history and social aspects of comics and the society. So he's written a lot, and I gotta say, he's a good writer. I'm very excited about that.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Brilliant. Gets it from both his mom and his dad.
We kind of, and this is one of the highlights of my life. If you know who that is behind me.
Is that Julia Child?
That is Julia Child.
I'll be darned.
And me from about 1,000 years ago. I think I might have mentioned earlier, at one point I was a food writer, and I was working on a story for a former newspaper that I worked at, and Julia Child was coming to Madison, Wisconsin. And I got to walk around the Madison Farmers Market with her as she was filming for one of her PBS series. And Ryan, that reminds me, when the two of you do come to visit me in Wisconsin, we're going to take a day and drive down to Madison and cruise the farmers market, because it's probably one of the best in the country.
Wow.
It goes all the way around the Capitol Square, which is probably 8 city blocks long, and it's cheek by jowl. Well, it normally is cheek by jowl, not so much this year, but there's just a huge market for organic, homegrown, homemade, all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And Julia and I and someone from a really well-known restaurant in Madison did the farmers market together, and she was watching while he went through and bought all of his produce for that day's service from all of it's really like an old-fashioned French market day, where you go in and you're the restaurateur and you buy directly from the growers, and you just pick it and take it. And Kath, the whole fruit and veg thing.
Yeah.
And it's a terrific experience. And so I got to do that with Julia, and that was really
wow.
That's really cool.
That was one of the highlights.
Heard that story.
Yeah, and I have an autograph from her somewhere. I didn't ask her to autograph her new cookbook, because I'm holding the cookbook that she had just come out with, and like a doofus, I didn't ask her to autograph it. So, but she autographed like the menu for the evening or something, and that's somewhere in the house, which I will find one of these days
as well.
Yeah.
Now that's a view from your house, isn't it?
It is not. It is not. This is a view from the kitchen of the house that Kath and I stayed in on Cape Cod when we were out there. Yeah, we're going out there to work on a very specific writing project.
Which is now completed.
I shouldn't say anything about it, but that was the plan. The plan was we were going to spend this week working on this very specific writing project, and then Kath got the commission to do like either an OI column or a white paper for somebody, and so we started working on that. And then the weather was really kind of crap. This was one of the nice days, but the weather was not the greatest. So then that's why we decided, we just can't stay inside on this awful day. Let's go up to Provincetown and walk around, or let's go to the beach and walk around. So
I remember being out there on the hammock, right? Yeah. And I saw for the first time ever, and you're going to laugh at me, a chipmunk.
There were so many of those stupid chipmunks.
I couldn't believe how small they were. I never knew that they were that, like itty bitty. I always thought they were around the same size as a squirrel, but no, itty bitty.
No, it's amazing how annoying such a small creature can be. I have chipmunk, squirrels, rabbits, deer, raccoons. You'd think I lived out on the farm, but I'm actually, right in the city, but we have all of those things. And chipmunks, when we still had a cat, we would have a chipmunk that would come and sit on the back step at our back door and harass my cat, she was too afraid to go outside. So these chipmunks knew that, they could get away with whatever. Look at you, Ryan.
This is one I found. That was kind of fun.
You should have had that when you interviewed Sam the other day.
I know, I should have. I thought about it.
No, that I could live in that room. Is that an actual room in your house, or is that?
No,
Is
this
that
is
the
something I
virtual
found
library?
online, but
Mhm.
oddly enough, in the new house, the way I have the office designed is that the wall behind me is all going to be bookshelves like this.
Yeah.
So I'll have bookshelves actually on on two sides of the office. So which is really cool. Finally have bookshelves.
Just don't do what I see them doing in one of those shelves where they're organizing them by color. I mean,
Oh God, no, I'm not that
that's a little,
not that crazy.
yeah, no, I'm not that anal either. So, and here's, I think we've seen this, but I'm going to show it again. That's Kath and me. You know, actually, this was one of those times when we did get some work done. But we had a week to spend on the Cape, and we probably worked for about maybe 10 hours of the whole week. But we also got to see David Daniels on that trip, and that was fun.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be cool. I miss
And we
David.
went to the drive-in as well, remember? That was nice.
We did. We went to a drive-in movie, and then we went to another movie. It was one that it was shot on the Cape or something.
Yeah, that's right.
And we went to dinner with David, and it was such a fun time. And we went shopping.
So when you come over to see me, Janet, this is what
Yes.
you're going to be. I'm going to be taking you to Greenwich Park, and
I've
you're going to have
seen
this amazing view. Let me pop out of the way.
I
Right?
love it.
Amazing view. So because it's my kind of local park, but it's a royal park, so it's beautiful.
Oh.
That's really pretty.
I think we're going to cut quite a swath through London when I come over there to visit.
Yes, and we might even go here as well. So this is where I cycled to the other day. Look where that is. What's that
I
one?
know. I want to do that. It put me down for that bike ride, and that looked fabulous.
Yeah. So that there is Tower Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone keeps on getting confused that it's London Bridge, but it's actually just
Tower
That's
Bridge.
Tower.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, hey,
Ryan, you and I, we've eaten right near there.
Yes, we have. It was a glorious dinner.
Yeah.
My God. I love that place.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites too.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. That's
Oh,
crazy.
that is that crazy beach. Where is that?
It's St. Martin.
Yes. Yeah, where the planes land right over the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is insane.
My best friend was inebriated enough that he went up to the fence. And I got the video somewhere, I just can't find it. Went up to the fence and hung on as they powered up the jet.
Right, and then you get blown back by the...
Well, they have moved the fence out because a significant number of people have been blown back, hit their head, and died.
Yeah, there's some like 10 world's 10 most dangerous airports, and that's one of them because people wanted that rush of experience, and they didn't realize it really is like getting hit by a truck.
And the other dangerous part of that airport is not only the blowback, the jet wash, but when you take off from that airport, you have to pull up and out because right in front of the runway is a mountain. And if you don't pull up, you smack right into it. So when you take off like this, and then you feel this up into a bank that's hard.
That's insane. That is insane.
Amazing. So, and then you've got one other video to show too, haven't you? Of your it's with water.
Oh, with water.
Oh yeah.
With water. What
and
do I have with water?
Your dog.
Oh yeah. Oh, thanks.
How to see the dog?
Almost forgot about that one.
Yeah, there you go.
A dog hates the water.
And I'll put my cat with the water.
I know. I have to see that cat, Felix.
I know, you have to come visit him.
Yeah.
You see him. He's playing with the water at the moment. He's going, what's happening here?
As cats do. And he's a tuxie, which is really my favorite kind of cat.
Yeah. Well, my friends were saying the other day, in fact, probably two different friends at two different times, a day apart, were just literally saying, your cat's not a cat. Your cat's like a dog. Just how he is.
I had a cat like that. Yeah, they would fetch, and they would run to the door. This cat was not, aloof like,
No, Felix was aloof. He's a cuddle pie. he's just devoted. He's as devoted as a dog is.
Yeah, well, we've been on several calls where all of a sudden there is this big amorphous black shape in your lap, and and again, okay, now, and this is getting back to the whole doing business at home during COVID thing. I had a client. I was talking with a client for the first time. We were just getting to know each other, and she was working from home, and she was a little bit younger. Just kind of, it was her first time working with a content person who was not from her company. She was getting used to working at home, and we're just starting our call, and I could hear this bark, 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 bark. And she's, looking, obviously distracted, looking to the side. I said, "Is that your dog?" And she goes, "Yes." I said, "Let him in." And she let him in, and this huge, the biggest German Shepherd I'd ever seen came in, and, she introduced me to him, told me his name. I called his name. He's kind of like, what? And then he sat next to her. We were on the phone for probably 45 minutes. He sat next to her. I could see the tips of his ears just sticking into the camera, and he never left. And she was so embarrassed by that. But I said, "But no, he wants to be with you. He knows you're here. He hears you talking. I don't have a problem with him."
That's funny.
And and ever since then, whenever we've been on a call, this dog has to come and say hello. I see this massive German Shepherd head. And then he sits right next to her, and he's perfectly fine. And I think before all this happened, you might have had some really buttoned up companies that would have frowned on that. But now people are like, "I want to see the dog. Show me the dog. Introduce me to the dog. Where's the cat? I don't see the cat. I want to see the cat."
I think to a certain extent, that's why we kind of decided to take this angle with Uncorked and Uncut as well, because we wanted to do that more human, sort of like, this is, let's find out about Janet, not just about the business side of things,
right,
but also about you as a person and your personal life and everything like that. And so you're more well-rounded as such.
Oh, I'm very well-rounded here.
Oh.
No,
go ahead.
No, I have enjoyed, that's one of the things that I have enjoyed about, especially yours, because we're not going to get to see each other at conferences. We're not going to get to have that in-person thing. And, and Ryan has made this point a number of times, that one of the things that separates the email industry from other groups is that we may be fierce competitors, but at the end of the day, we all go and hang out in the bar and drink together.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about this just the other day for something. And I know a lot of us, have missed that in-person connection.
Yes.
That we just don't get to have this year. And I've had 2 major conferences that I was going to be at, both canceled. And rightly so. And, we've done the virtual thing, and, it's okay. It's not the same. But I think this is a good way for people to continue to understand that there are people on the other phone or the screen or whatever. And we're a fascinating bunch of people, and we're really worth getting to know. And I have learned so much. One of these days, I will be able to make it to Kath's Email Underground chat session on Friday, which of course is, it's happy hour for the Brits and it's high noon for me, but one of these days I will be able to make it. I went to one, and it was so much fun that I knew I wouldn't be able to go unless I'd had all my work done, because I would have felt so guilty about, especially if I had clients on the call who are like, I've been waiting for something from you, and you're drinking in the middle of the day. What?
Right.
You don't have to drink. You could just turn up. You don't have to drink.
Oh, I know, but it's.
I just use it as an excuse. So.
I'm going to take a drink out of my Calf Pay water bottle, which has my name on it. Let's see if I can find it. Well, there's the little logo.
Yeah.
And my name is somewhere so that I don't lose it.
You don't lose it.
No, it stays by my side.
I think that's the whole thing, though, about the email industry, is that, we, like, you guys, I wouldn't have found you at all. Yeah. But you both have become 2 of my best friends, and not just for business.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But we got each other up about personal things. ask us, advice and all the rest of it. And we, so the industry is it's a great place. We've got, first of all, we've got the email in common, but let's be way beyond that.
Yeah. And I could say some of my closest friends are in this industry. You two are like Kath said, are two of my best friends, and it does transcend the work that we do. And I think that's why a lot of people think that we're a clique, that when we're at conferences we're always hanging out at the bar and we're kind of cliquey, and it's like, no, we're not really cliquey. It's like we haven't seen each other in a few months and we'd like to get to know, we'd like to get back in touch with people. And I said, it's the same as if you go to a pub with your friends, we're going to a pub with our friends. I said, but and the retort that I give to people is, if you want to come into that group, if you want to sit down and join that group, pull up a chair and buy us around. And you don't even have to buy us around, but pull up a chair. No, you don't have to do that, but it's nice. But, sit down and have a conversation. I don't know that we've ever shunned or ignored anybody that would sit down and wanted to chat, as long as you're,
unless they were really obnoxious. I can remember,
unless they're obnoxious, and we kicked Della out a couple times, but
no, but I mean, I can remember a couple guys that, like, I think we were, I was thinking that Kath and I really got to know each other at an EEC conference when we were still at that little hotel. It was at the Eden Rock.
Really expensive hotel. Or no, Eden Rock was the cheaper one.
Eden Rock was the cheap one. The Fontaine.
Eden Rock was great.
Yeah. I love that. I was always sorry that they went over to the big flashy hotel, but
You know what? As a side story, we tried to get back in there. Instead of going to New Orleans, we tried to get back to the Eden Rock, and they didn't want us because we were too large.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a testament to the EEC, but at the same time, I really missed having that. Having a room that looked out on the ocean that I could leave the door open all night,
Yeah.
And there were some people that were just kind of rude and obnoxious, and you just kind of find a way to move away from them.
Yeah.
It was intimidating for me when I went to my first EEC conference. I didn't know anybody, and this was the one in San Diego. I think that was the first. And by the time I was done, there was like a cruise or something that was the evening's entertainment. And I was a little hesitant. Should I go in? I really don't know these people. And somebody who was Stephen Pollard was the one who grabbed me and said, "Oh, come on, you're here. You're part of the group." And, I met so many fabulous people at that event.
It was amazing.
I know. I really miss Stephen. He was one of a kind.
Absolutely.
He was. I got one final picture, and then we'll wrap up. But I believe, unless I'm severely mistaken, I believe this is, where did it go? There it is. I believe that this is a really shitty picture of one of the dinners that we had at EEC that year. I
was not at that dinner.
I don't recognize anybody at that dinner, but I think that was, that was the Axiom dinner. Ha! I love that. I'm trying to look for pictures on the fly. It doesn't always work.
One time when a bunch of you did go out.
Oh, yeah.
And I was not part of it because I really didn't know that many people at that point. And I was at breakfast the next morning, at breakfast or lunch, and somebody said, "So where were you last night?" And I said, "Well, I was working in my hotel room." "You missed it. We were all wondering where you were." And it's like, "Well, nobody asked me." And that was the last time I think that I was not included because nobody asked me, not because I chose not to be.
Yeah.
It was that sort of thing where, yes, I mean, it is a fairly tight group, but the qualifications to get in that group are that you show up and you're interested in doing email well, which I think is a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Jana, what advice would you give to, and as we wrap up, right? What advice would you give to somebody that is starting off in this industry? Is content the way to go? Is writing the key to thought leadership, stardom, or whatever it is that we have? Or, what advice would you give to an email marketer right now?
I don't think it's content so much, because that's what you hire me, you know. I mean,
Yes.
You have to have the germ of a good idea that is going to serve your customers really well. I cannot emphasize how important it is that everything you do as an email marketer has to be to serve your customers. Kath has a saying that, and you know, of course, because I'm thinking about this now, I'm not going to get it right. But the idea is that we serve our brands the best when we serve our customers the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you can stitch that on a pillow and put it in your living room. And that is what people, they need to have a very strong focus on what is going to be serving their customers the best, how they do it, and how they can use email marketing to serve their customers the best gives them a story to tell. And that authentic story is what they come to me to tell, and I help them tell it. So you need to have, you don't worry about how to express it. Just do the work, be authentic, get a good result, and be willing to share it with the community, because that's one of the ways that we've helped email grow and develop over the years, is by sharing all of our success stories. We have not kept it to ourselves.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, I have written case studies in other industries, and I have had to plead with people. I need a result. I need a percentage lift. I need something that doesn't just sound like the company's patting themselves on the back. And email people are, you know, really willing to not just give the success stories, but to also say what failed, because you learn from failure, and nobody is going to shun you because you ran a test that totally blew up and you found out why you had built the test wrong, and that's why it blew up. So if someone is looking to make a name as a thought leader, you have to be authentic, you have to know your stuff, you have to be willing to share it with the idea that you are not, I mean, 5% of it might be promoting your company, 95% of it is education and sharing. And that's what's going to bring people to you. They're going to recognize your authority. They're going to understand that you are in it to share and help other people grow. And then people are more willing to share with you. And hire somebody like me to help you tell the story.
Excellent.
Well, this has been an extreme honor.
It's been fun
to have you on this, and hopefully people that have watched have discovered a new person in the industry that is more important than you would know.
And absolutely delightful along
and
the way.
just a joy.
I kind of like being anonymous. So this was a little bit of a leap for me, but you know, it has been a great time, and I thank you so much for asking me. I was so honored.
Well, of course. Well, if you like the series, don't forget to hit actually it'd be over here, the subscribe button, tweet, email us at uncorkedanduncut.com if you have comments or want to be a guest or have a question. Gosh, just thank you, Janet, for taking the time. And this has been fun with all the Zoom backgrounds. I think we should all show what's behind us right now.
Oh, you just want to show off, don't you?
I do.
You do, big time.
That's all you see. It's just my movie projector green screen.
There we go.
Yeah.
See?
That's how they make the magic, baby.
Another excuse for me to buy a gadget.
Yes.
Okay.
Gadget king.
Thank you, everybody. This has been so much fun.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Be safe, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.